Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Dance Teacher Pep Talk. I am your host, Amanda, and I am so glad you are here. This is a space for dance teachers and anyone interested in teaching dance who is looking for motivation and fresh ideas. As teachers, we spend our days motivating and giving pep talks to our students, and now this podcast is a pep talk just for you. We hope that it helps to ignite new ideas and even work through some deep dance related thoughts before you head into the studio. Thank you for your support, and now let's get into today's episode. Hi, everyone, and welcome to a new episode of Dance Teacher Pep Talk. I am so excited for today's episode. I just got back from an amazing and refreshing vacation. I feel so ready not only to start the dance year, but also have some exciting and inspiring podcast ideas for all of you. And I just wanted to start off by saying a huge thank you to everybody who's taken the time to support and follow this podcast. I'm so excited for the excitement that is being generated with this podcast. And I'm just so glad that you are all coming back here and listening to new episodes. And if you're new to the podcast, welcome. This is a space for dance teachers and aspiring dance teachers to get new ideas, inspiration, and just some general good thoughts before heading into teach for the day. So, as I mentioned, I'm so excited for today's podcast because I was going to do this whole episode about first day of dance ways to get everybody started, sort of like icebreakers. And I recorded the whole podcast and it just wasn't really doing it for me. And I thought, let's put this on our Dance Teacher Pep Talk Instagram as ideas and different content that people can search through but not necessarily need an entire podcast episode on it. So while I was on vacation, this idea popped into my head, and I just thought, oh, this is going to be so fun. So today's podcast is all about my childhood favorite memories growing up through dance. And the reason why I thought this would be so exciting is because for some of you, maybe you taught during this time period when I was a young dancer growing up through my childhood years of dance. Or maybe you grew up during this time of dance, and maybe some of these memories will spark some great feelings for you too. So I was a student in my elementary, middle school, high school years because, of course, as dance teachers, we're always still learning. So I'm going to call this my younger years. But I was mainly dancing during that time of the mid 90s through the early 2000s. So if you were teaching during that time, or if you were taking dance classes regularly at that time, this might pull up some gems in the back of the memory. So I thought it would be great to put together these favorites because sometimes when we're going into a new year, we're always thinking about newness. What new music can we bring into our classes? What new ideas? And sometimes it can be a lot to think of because maybe at this time too, you're also starting your new competition choreography. And maybe if you have a family, you're thinking about your children going into school and organizing their activities. So there's a lot that goes on at the end of summer. And then when we throw on top of that, adding that pressure of what can I bring new into my classroom this year, sometimes that can be a lot. And looking back, just like fashion, we can make things that were old new again. We constantly see trends resurfacing. And the dancers do too, especially with the day and age of TikTok. Sometimes songs that were old and popular will be on there and go viral on TikTok. And all of a sudden, the dancers will come in and they'll be like, "Oh, Miss Amanda, we heard this song. It's so awesome." And I will think to myself, okay, well, this isn't new. So clearly, there is excitement around things that are resurfaced or recycled or returning, however you want to look at it. So I thought I would start off today's episode gearing towards some music favorites. So, if you are a teacher that teaches younger age levels or combo classes, such as ballet jazz, ballet tap, or even the younger levels of such as level one, level two, even, maybe these music ideas will bring back some fun for you. So, as I was thinking about this episode, I kept flashing back to my ballet tap days, and there was this one song, or, tap one, I kept remembering, and it was There's a Hippo in My Tub. And I was like thinking about it over and over again. And we had this whole class, or maybe the beginning of the class, like the whole start of our tap class was off of this CD, or no, at that time it was a cassette tape of this Hippo in My Tub and all of these other songs. They were all these like bath time songs. And it was so funny because I even remember doing, the different tap warm ups and skills and shuffles, all of that to this music. So I was on a search and I found it. So the whole Bath Time Magic playlist is now available on Spotify. And the artist that has the Bath Time Magic songs is Joni Bartels. Bartels, Joni Bartels. And there are so many different albums by her on Spotify that I think would go really well in young children's classes. And yes, this music is from the 90s, but when it comes to finding appropriate music that works well, tempo wise, and also content wise and story wise for young children, you really can't go wrong. So I would definitely recommend checking out Joni Bartels on Spotify. And the Hippo in My Tub is from Bath Time Magic. So if you did that at your studio, I just loved it. It's a great memory that I have of my younger years. So shout out to Miss Nancy for all of the awesome young children's music memories that I have. Other music that I loved from my younger years was some good old Mary Kate and Ashley, the CDs that came from their young shows, not their movies, but their, like, I want to say it was TV shows, but I don't really remember so much. But I remember, even to this day, I think at our studio, we still do the take out the papers and the trash in our tap classes, and it is so much fun. And it involves acting, it involves movement, and it involves the skills that we're working on. So I really love that as well. Talking about ballet, I remember loving the Lisa Harris piano ballet CDs. In fact, my mom would even purchase them for me because I would use them to practice at home. And I just loved the sequence of it. I loved how I remember this one CD, and I cannot remember the title in my head, but we would start and it would be Beauty and the Beast for plies. And that was the first song. And it just always brought excitement to me in class because I loved that playlist, well, CD. I loved it, and it really always motivated and moved me as a young dancer. So, thank you, Miss Dee Dee, for introducing me to Lisa Harris music and, of course, for my love of ballet. I know too that Lisa Harris also has Spotify playlists, and there are so many amazing ballet albums and playlists out there on Spotify that you could always change it up. There's a lot of current music as well being turned into ballet tracks that can help motivate your students because it's a familiar sounding song. And in general, I know I was loving the Beauty and the Beast plies, but Disney music, you can't go wrong with that. A lot of the time it's so familiar to the students and it gets them engaged and it gets them moving. Another flashback CD that I remember from my time as a younger dancer was Fantasy Garden. But actually, the more that I think about it, I think that was more so when I was an older dancer, maybe assisting out younger classes. So, Fantasy Garden, I want to pull up, it is by Rosemary Burroughs. Burroughs, Boross. Um, I couldn't find that one on Spotify, but I feel like if you were really wanting to look for it, you could find it maybe even on eBay. So again, just some flashback music for you. And the flashbacks don't have to stop there. When you think about it, if you put on music from your high school era, and it almost brings up feelings of nostalgia and the way that you felt when you had listened to it in high school. So, maybe there were those tracks that you listened to and just cried your eyes out, or maybe there were those songs where you just heard it on the radio and you knew like today was going to be a good day. Bringing back some of those songs into your playlist is going to spark a special feeling within you, if also if the song was appropriate and okay for the dance classroom. But those songs, if they're going to spark something in you, that's going to spark something in your work, and that is going to help spark something within your students. It's going to help engage them. So we don't have to necessarily find brand new music every year, brand new ideas, because what we have been taught, what we've learned, what we've grown with and established through the years is so tried and true. And you can fix things, obviously, as you learn through the years of teaching, to change up the way that you teach things, or maybe adding new skills or different sequences to skills. But going back, maybe like looking back at your playlist from 5 years ago, or like I said, going all the way back to music that you listened to in high school, how can you incorporate some of that oldness to bring a fresh take into your newness? And I always think too about my modern teacher, shout out to Jenny, who's one of my greatest friends now. And she always had choreographed warm ups. And I always loved her music too. But it's so funny because sometimes through the years, I'll be like, hey, Jenny, remember that song that you did for flatbacks? Or remember that song? That was our Coccyx Sit song track. And it like sticks with you. And sometimes she'll be like, oh, yeah, thanks for that reminder. I should check that song out again, because what was once old can be made new again, can spark new ideas, and it can be fun too. So if you're feeling pressured to find new music, to find new ideas, go back to the old stuff and see what comes up. Other things that I remember from my childhood that were so important or beneficial to my memory is using props. I remember using wands that were plastic with like a sparkly pipe cleaner type of substance in the middle and ribbons on the outside. And we would do so many things with those wands. They would be butterfly wings, they would be flutes in the marching band, they would be drums in the drum section of the music. Things like that with young dancers, props not only make a lasting effect in the movement teaching, but also clearly in the memory, because I still remember these things. And another prop that was really fun for us too was ribbon dancers. Maybe not so much in your youngest classes because they do take a little bit to work, like the big ribbon dancers, they take quite a bit. Um, but if you're ever looking to try something different in your improv, throw in some props. And a fun prop exercise that I do sometimes is I will have the dancers leave the classroom. Well, depending on your setup, I guess, they either are in the classroom or head out into the waiting area. And each dancer has to get one prop. And we set up stations within the room. And through the improv, each dancer has a turn with each of the props and has to like move with that prop effectively and think about how can I use this in an effective way. And then they go on to the next station or whatnot. And you can take that idea and run with it in different ways. Another thing that I remember so much about growing up in dance was there was a period of time where we had a specific dress code for levels with like colored leotards. So now we are very much into just wearing the black and pink. But growing up, I remember there was a time where the junior level would wear powder blue, and then the intermediate level would wear maroon, and then the senior level would wear navy blue. And yeah, I did not like wearing the powder blue, not at all. But there was something about it that was so unique and interesting. And I feel like maybe some schools still do that. But it was always like, oh, you moved up to the next level. It's the next color leotard for you.
But yeah, that one really stuck out to me as a deep dance memory. Trying to think of some other things that came up. Oh, I loved this. So, growing up in lyrical class, I remember that each week we would do this port de bras exercise that our teacher would lead. Also, shout out to Miss Debbie. But she would lead this beautiful port de bras exercise, and at times would have students come up to the front so that they could then lead their own port de bras series. And I loved it so much because we were never forced to go up to do the lead role, but if we wanted to, we could have that moment and that chance to go up to the front to have our ideas and our pictures and shapes and movements to be mirrored by the dancers behind us. And so that really, I really loved that because, especially in your class, if you have dancers that are aspiring to be teachers in their future, or they just love dance so much they want to learn about all the facets of different careers in dance, giving those dancers the opportunity to have that lead feeling, whether it's even being a leader across the floor or a leader of the day in certain exercises. I think it gives a lot of autonomy and but at the same time a lot of a good pressure, because it is a feeling of I want to be the best that I can be to fulfill this leadership role in that class that day. And I'm also going to talk a little bit too about assistant teachers in a later episode, but I do think it is so important, if dancers are wanting to be involved in different facets of dance education, that we make those opportunities for them, because it isn't just about the dance learning that we're doing in the class, but also where are they taking this into their future. And if someone is serious about wanting to pursue dance in their future, I think it is important to have these opportunities and spaces for them. And speaking on that too, I'm going to do an episode on this, but I feel it is so important to involve students in student choreography opportunities within your learning schedule in the season. And I remember growing up, I was very fortunate where I had a lot of those experiences, which I will talk more about. But one really sparked my interest. It was one particular lesson in one year where we were each responsible to come into, it was tap at the time, so shout out to Miss Darlene. I'm giving so many shout outs today, but again, I've had amazing experiences. So we would come into the tap class with a combination of a specific length that we were to be teaching, with a piece of music that was appropriate, and we each signed up for a week. And it wasn't every week that we went, but it was spread out through the year. So, like maybe one week it wasn't a student led combo at the end of class, but maybe the following week it would be. And when we did this particular choreography challenge, it really sparked something in me where I always wanted to teach, but it was then that I knew I really wanted to make teaching a part of my future, or choreography, one or the other, or both. So that was always a really, really fun exercise that we did, and something that I think could be a great idea to include in your dance schedule this season if it works out. And lastly, another big childhood memory that stuck out, and I'm sure there's going to be other episodes on other childhood memories that come to mind, but when I was younger, the excitement of going to convention or workshop. We didn't go to many, maybe one or two a year, and some were just one day opportunities and some were 2 day, but it was so beyond exciting because we would go into the city and learn and take classes from all these different teachers, but we also got this outing into a bigger environment outside of our small town life, and I absolutely loved that. Competing, I loved, but it was something about going to convention and the excitement of being among other dancers of my age in a space learning together that I just had so much fun with and so much excitement around. So, if you can incorporate convention into your year, there's so many now that offer 1 day opportunities in the fall that maybe could work into your schedule, because a lot of the conventions are, when they're the 1 day, are sometimes on Sunday. So maybe it would work out And you can offer them. You could make one mandatory, or maybe you just make it optional. But it's such a fun and cool learning experience for your dancers to get outside of your place and into an area with dancers from around the community, learning from new teachers that come from all over. So definitely love that. It was a very key and core memory for myself growing up. So I hope that you all enjoyed today's little flashback episode. If you resonate with any of this, I'm so happy, whether you were a teacher teaching some of these things or whether you were a student learning and being involved with some of these things. I hope it brought back some really special and good feelings through these memories. And I want to thank you so much again for taking the time today to listen to a Dance Teacher Pep Talk. I hope that it brings new inspiration and ideas for you to bring into your classroom. I do want to mention that we are now also on Amazon and so excited for that, as well as Apple Podcast. And to help grow our podcast and to get our message out there and to reach others, I would love if you could share the podcast, follow us on Instagram at Dance Teacher Pep Talk, rate our podcast on the various platforms that it's launched on. Just get that message out there, because if this pep talk helped you, I hope that it helps others too. And we have so many amazing things in the works here at Dance Teacher Pep Talk, and I'm just so excited to extend this message as far as we can. So, thank you all for listening to today's episode. I hope you have an amazing day, and we will talk to you soon.